ABC6 investigates controversial classroom discipline, in some cases leaving students hurt or traumatized. After reviewing state data, investigator Brooks Jarose uncovered some serious flaws in the system designed to track those incidents. Brooks?
Bob, ABC6 investigators found underreporting, missing information, and inaccurate data. And just hours ago, this report by nonprofit Disability Rights Ohio confirms that, exposing the gaps and lack of enforcement which enables these incidents to keep happening.
It's time to go.
At the end of the school day in Willoughby Hills near Cleveland, watch what happens when middle school student Sean Green refuses to log off a computer. This surveillance video shows his teacher restraining him. She grabs him by the neck and knocks him to the ground. Sean gets up and swings a chair at her. She then pushes him across the room and up against a wall. Two staff members rush in and force Sean to the floor. He's held there for several minutes.
It was a bar fight. It wasn't a proper restraint of a child acting out.
Sean has autism, anxiety, and other behavioral disorders. His mother says he has trouble processing what happened.
It absolutely destroyed me. And I should never have had to see that happen to him.
ABC6 investigators reviewed Ohio's database, finding nearly 14,000 restraint incidents last school year. The controversial method is most often used on children with disabilities.
Sometimes people treat him like he's a contagious disease or like he's stupid, but he's neither.
Now, Keith Cochran is 13. He's autistic. He went to South Mifflin Elementary in Columbus until one day in 2013 when his mother says things got out of hand.
It was devastating.
What did you do?
At first, I almost started to cry.
She got a call that her son was hurt in school. She says Nikis was laughing and being disruptive. When he wouldn't calm down, the teacher grabbed another student's body sock like this one. It's prescribed for therapeutic reasons, and the child is put inside of it. But when the teacher tried to get Nikis in it, he slipped, fell, and busted his front teeth.
I got hurt in the purple sock, and my teeth, and I started crying.
Court documents explain a staff member shoved his teeth back into his mouth, and 911 was never called. Now this federal lawsuit challenges the school's actions and the use of restraint.
Children are not animals. That should not be going on in school. School is not prison, and that's what it's turning into.
Columbus City Schools would not respond to the lawsuit and doesn't consider a body sock a restraining device. Still, the state's largest district reported more than 2,000 restraints last year. Ohio schools are only allowed to physically restrain students or place them in locked seclusion rooms when there is an immediate risk of physical harm to the student or others.
There is no mechanism for real accountability.
Disability Rights Ohio found these methods carry a high risk for injury or even death. Attorney Kristen Hildebrand says many districts don't implement or train teachers with other more positive behavioral techniques.
Are we failing those students?
Yes.
The Ohio Department of Education collects restraint and seclusion information.
How effective is your data collection?
I think we're learning.
Sue Zake manages it all. There's no penalty for districts not submitting data or having high number of cases. Zake says funding is now in place to develop, train, and support Ohio schools.
What would you say to those districts who haven't implemented anything yet?
That it's time.
New state records show more than 75 districts have no working positive behavioral intervention plan. But Columbus City Schools does, training teachers on methods that encourage good behavior and prevent outbursts. Still, last year in all Ohio schools, roughly 400 student injuries were reported as a result of restraint and seclusion.
That's not healthy for the staff, it's not healthy for the children, it's not healthy for the community. That's where I think our push comes.
It pains Mother Alana Murdoch.
And all these adults are hurting him.
Seeing the bruises and signs of restraint.
It's devastating. And you want to say, I don't want to send him to school anymore.
Her son Hawk attends an elementary school in Big Walnut School District. Records show he's been restrained and secluded dozens of times.
Every time they restrain me, it feels like they're ripping my arms off.
Big Walnut says it has positive behavioral interventions and supports in its buildings. That means alternatives to restraint and seclusions should be used first. Still, records show in many districts that's not happening. And with inaccurate and missing state data, Disability Rights Ohio calls it a system failure.
I mean, the day that all school districts in Ohio implement positive behavioral interventions and supports in a real way with fidelity, and they want to do it because they know it's the right thing to do, that's the day that I can retire.
And nobody will help him.
For now, mothers are hopeful for change, but fear what may happen on the next school day.
There are a lot of other methods that can be used than putting a child in a room and expecting them to get over it. I still have to send my child to school. I still have to send him into the world, and now I have this phobia.
It was horrifying. Who wants to see that happen to your child or anybody else's? It should have never happened, period.
So what can parents do? Disability Rights Ohio says the options are limited. We're on your side with tips if you feel your child has been improperly restrained or secluded. First, request a copy of the school district complaint process. Now, you can always file a police report, or you can report the incident to Child Protective Services. You can also call the Ohio Department of Education Dispute Resolution Team. And we've put all that information on our website, abc6onyourside.com. Just click the Investigators tab. I'm Brooks Jarose, ABC6 Investigators.
Update now to an ABC6 investigation. We uncovered the alarming number of restraints and seclusions to discipline students in Ohio schools. Well, that has sparked lawmakers to take action. Investigator Brooks Jarose is back with what's being done to protect kids in the classroom. Brooks?
Yolanda, we showed you the video of a child being restrained, shoved up against a wall, and then tackled. Then another case of a kid coming home with bruises on his arms and legs. Now, it's all supposed to be tracked and submitted to the Department of Education, but we found dozens of districts don't do that, and about 75 fail to implement more positive behavioral techniques to avoid using these practices. Senator Charlita Traveris wants accountability, so she just introduced legislation to do away with seclusion rooms in all schools. That's where students are left alone in isolated rooms for sometimes hours. And we uncovered, the senator says, this only highlights the need for more teacher training and alternatives.
If we say we value children, and we all say that children are our most precious asset, then we've got to let our actions speak to that. And so your report on this issue will help reinforce the need to address the problem and not just sweep it under the rug.
Senator Traveris says the bill is before the Education Committee right now. If it becomes law, the Department of Ed would have 90 days to update its policy and ban seclusion in Ohio schools. Now, if you want to see our entire in-depth investigation, including tips for parents, just go to our website, abc6onyourside.com, then click the Investigators tab.
Racial tension in schools. Black children getting physically restrained more than any other ethnic group. Investigator Brooks Jarose uncovered the high number of controversial discipline practices in Ohio schools. Now he's back with new findings that could have a negative effect on our community.
But it's still hurtful to hear him talk.
It's a day Nakis Cochran and his mother will never forget. He has autism and was attending South Mifflin Elementary in Columbus. When he was laughing, being disruptive, and refusing to calm down, staff members grabbed another child's body sock and put him in it. That's when he slipped, fell, and busted his teeth.
I got hurt in the purple sock, and my teeth, and I started crying.
Now this federal lawsuit challenges the school's actions and the use of restraint. ABC6 investigators reviewed state data. We found black children in Columbus City schools are restrained at a higher rate than any other racial group.
it saddens me. You know, I'm just disappointed that.
Stephanie Hightower used to be school board president and saw the problem then. She's now president and CEO of Columbus Urban League.
It should alarm not just me, but it should alarm everyone.
In Columbus City schools, we found 56% of students are black. But during the 2013-2014 school year, of the 400+ students restrained, 73% were black. That means a higher number of black children are being restrained. For other ethnic groups, it's far less.
What that tells me is that somebody is not looking at data.
Why do you think more black children are being restrained?
And I don't have an answer for that.
Chief Academic Officer Alicia Gillison says while only 1% of students are restrained, Columbus City Schools is working to train teachers on positive behavioral techniques. Right now, 1,200 teachers are trained.
Our teachers learn strategies and techniques to work with young people to help them control their emotions and to give them positive ways of expressing themselves.
This past school year, there was a higher number of restraints, but the percentage of black students being restrained did go down slightly.
We're not there yet, but we're going in the right direction.
Still, the issue of black students getting restrained more often stretches beyond Columbus. A report by the U.S. Department of Education Office for Civil Rights says it's a problem across the country.
How do you feel when you see those statistics?
Again, it reaffirms that minority children are mistreated in school.
Those are the kinds of things that will have a negative effect on our community and our neighborhoods if we don't figure out how to fix these problems.
Both the Urban League and Columbus City Schools stress the importance of community partnerships and programs like My Brother's Keeper. Columbus City Schools has a positive behavioral interventions plan, something all teachers will be trained on by the end of 2016. Now, if you didn't see our first investigation on restraint and seclusion in Ohio schools, go to our website, abc6onyourside.com, and click the Investigators tab. I'm Brooks DeRose, ABC6 Investigators.